Ah, The Sims. Isn't that a swift slap to the nostalgia nards? The progenitor of virtual dollhouses, The Sims is over 22 years old at the time of recording this video, having been released in the year 2000. Since then, not much has changed. And they don't live underwater. Given the tumultuous times that we have experienced since the game's release, is The Sims still the adequate reflection of real life that we believed it was? Albeit with more Grim Reapers, aliens and genies than tend to swan around in the real world. One such modern movement that has gained traction lately is the sentiment that workers have been pushed around for far too long, and the youngsters of today are less likely to be taken advantage of by their employers. These people have been called the likes of the quiet quitters, the anti-workers, and the fun employed. These people are mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore! Or they're just going to get a new job and post derogatory screenshots of their boss's conversations. Either way, the people are tired of work as we know it, and the lack of rewards that fail to trickle down upon them like urine from the fire escape outside of a millionaire's top floor penthouse. I have taken this anti-work manifesto and decided to apply it to the world of The Sims. Maxis built the game very much with the world of work in mind, so this might not be as straightforward as first appears. Getting a job is the main way that your Sims earn succulent simoleons, and the game gives you very few other avenues to earn cash outside of this. Even a life of crime has the trappings of a 9 to 5, regular hours, promotion ladders, and a carpool, presumably in a stolen car. So pursuing a toil-resistant lifestyle might be somewhat tricky, but nevertheless, I shall attempt it. Before we begin, let's lay the ground rules. 1. No jobs. That means we cannot use the computer to get a job, we cannot use the newspaper to get a job. We must glare at the paper girl as she throws a hot rag of employment opportunities on our doorstep daily. Rule 2. Bills must be paid. I know we're opting out of the world of work, but we've got to keep the lights on somehow. Capitalism isn't going away. Rule the 3rd. We must start with one sim. We can rope other Sims into our lifestyle of largesse and debauchery, but, as with all good revolutions, it must begin with one person and a dream. And that's where the character creation screen comes into play. We begin by creating our first work-shy innovator, Culturington. Hortensia Culturington. She will grow our employment-hostile society from the soil up. From here we... okay, oh boy, the character creation options are more bare bones than a skeleton's buffet. After scrolling through a whopping 15 different outfits, we finally settled on one that wouldn't show the armpit stains too heavily, and began allocating personality points carefully. There. Now to move Hortensia into an affordable little home. When you first create a family in The Sims 1, the household immediately has 20,000 simoleons to spend outright. Of course, that's 20,000 in millennium money. Adjusting for inflation, it's roughly 11 squillion simoleons, give or take a bill. Ergo, 20,000 is more than enough to buy a plot of land, build a brand new house all over it, and furnish the gaff with everything you need to get set up. You'll even have a few thousand left over for cocktails, which is good because without a job we're going to need a small cash reserve to keep ourselves afloat in this cutthroat capitalist hole of immorality. We began by buying the smallest lot in the neighbourhood, a patch of grass in the corner of the world. It was probably somebody's lawn that they didn't want to water anymore. Either way, it's ours now, and we still have over 16 grand to play with. We set to work constructing a base of operations, building out several rooms in the process. We could have gone smaller and more cost effective, but since we're not going to be going out to work, we're going to be spending all of our time right here. So let's make it count. The decoration was cheap but cheerful in a I don't really have the capacity to care about this nicely sort of a fashion. The furniture was also cheap but a lot less cheerful. Most of it looked like it was fourth-hand at best, probably from a house clearance where the tenants were terminal bedwetters. However, I already have a plan for how we can avoid gainful employment and still make our fortune. We would need investments in certain household items to achieve this. Speculate to consummate, or something along those lines. You see, vanilla base game OG Sims 1 Day 1 patch, no mods, no coconuts, doesn't have much in the way of home-based money-making paraphernalia. It wouldn't be until the first expansion pack, The Sims Living Large, that the genie lamp would be added with the chance to get free money through wishes. Further expansion packs would also add in other cash-generating objects such as beehives, canning stations, gargoyle sculpting tables, butter churners, or just plain old-fashioned magic. But in the base game, the options are somewhat limited. There, that's it. That's the only object in the original game that can make you money. With an easel, you can paint, then you can sell your paintings. I also bought a PC because I had a vague recollection that you could write and sell novels, but...
Oh, what the piss!
That feature wouldn't become available until The Sims 2, which is a shame because a sweet book deal could net you thousands. So Hortensia's challenge suddenly became a lot harder than previously envisaged. Starting as we meant to go on, we recycled that dirty sheet of capitalist propaganda, there we go, and set about, well, I was hoping to set about painting straight away, time is money and all, but a glut of neighbourhood distractions appeared on the doorstep to welcome Hortensia to the area. Hortensia politely greeted Mortimer Goth, and completely ignored his wife Bella until she got the picture and left. They yacked on the porch until Mortimer decided to christen the porcelain with its first ever poo. Bit rude if you ask me. Hortensia hasn't even had a chance to test it out yet. As Mortimer seconded himself in the bathroom, another man appeared who had the slowest turning circle in the history of humanity. We asked him to leave. You can't trust a man who would take a fortnight to react if you stabbed him between the shoulder blades. Instead, we focused all of our friend power on Mr. Goth. We would need somebody to talk to if our social needs got low. This is, after all, a time before Twitter. Once this was done, it was time to paint and earn our first simoleons. We only had 2,000 simoleons left in the bank, and our first bills were due any day now. So, time was of the essence. Luckily, we would have plenty of time on the canvas to... No, stop that. No, stop going to the toilet. It's paint! After much furious clicking and battling with basic human functions, we finally had a masterpiece to be proud of. A true meeting of form and function upon the canvas of creativity. The Mona Lisa, perhaps? Somebody should have told her it's already been done. Either way, this would be a watershed moment in our pursuit of happiness. A blueprint for living. A sustainable way of... What the... One simoleon? One simoleon? We painted all day for one single measly simoleon. Getting dinner out of the fridge cost 10. Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. Of course, the price tag of art depends upon the creativity of the sim creating it. Since Hortensia was literally born yesterday, as a fully grown woman no less thanks to the character creator, she had 0 creativity points. Fortunately, practice makes perfect, and thus began the daily grind. Eat, sleep, paint, pass out on the porch, wake up, and go to bed. The artistic life was a lonely life, so I tried to invite the neighbours over whenever I had the chance. By neighbours, I mean Mortimer Goth, because he was the only one who ever accepted our invitations. The day was structured so that Hortensia painted throughout what would traditionally be a working day. 9 to 5 painting, the hardest way to make a living. Then Mortimer would come round to watch TV, occasionally bringing his daughter with him, who Bella would arrive promptly to collect almost immediately because she didn't trust a strange woman with her kids. Then, beddy buys. As the days went by, our creativity skill increased until we were making 6 simoleons. A 6-fold increase! We were on the road to richtery! Unfortunately, our miscellaneous bills had begun to arrive, and they were significantly more than our incomings. In fact, each meal was significantly more than our incomings. The hemorrhage was terminal, and we didn't have time to wait for Hortensia's creativity to increase. No, we would have to alter our plans slightly in order to survive, whilst of course staying true to our founding principles and not getting a job. It would be a lot of work, but we could stay out of work if we put in the work. Thus, a scheme was hatched. We invited over the only sim we actually knew, and we put our plan into action. Firstly, seduce him. Then, marry him. Then we could make him quit his job and have him make more art for us, thus more money. It was a good plan, however, old Morty here was not quite as receptive to our floundering advances as we'd hoped. Perhaps he just loved his wife too much. Perhaps he felt a proposal in the living room while the TV blared cowboy films at him was a little too crass. Perhaps he didn't want to sign his rights away into a life of arty slavery. Sexy arty slavery, I might add. But whatever the reason, Mortimer Goff proved to be more prudish than you would expect from someone who looks like a dollar store Gomez Adams. If at first you don't succeed, try again. We were turned down time after time. We would need a different angle here. Wrong move. What were we doing wrong? Had he seen through the ruse? Sure, we only wanted him to exploit his labour in a portrait sweatshop, but isn't that why all people get married? Sometimes he was in a bad mood, other times too hungry. Sometimes he just wanted to talk the massive girl. Night after night, Hortensia pandered to his every need. She fed him, rubbed his back, bought him expensive gifts, allowed him to use the bathroom when he needed it. She even bought a picture of Pagliacci the sad clown in case his room score was too low. Eventually, after proposing to him 5 times on the same night, he relented and agreed terms. Hortensia changed out of her jammies, and before long, a beautiful ceremony took place in the kitchen, next to piles of dirty dishes. It took more than 2 weeks of canoodling and fandoogling before Mutz would agree to be vassalised, but we did it. We finally won the game of love. Mortz left his wife and child and joined the Cultrington household, bringing with him a sizable nest egg of zilch. Never mind, we didn't marry him for his money, we married him for the fruits of his labour. But first things first, we needed to get him out of that hideous costume. There, Mortz in shorts. Now we could concentrate on the creation and sale of art. That is, when Mortz isn't destroying the sink. Due to the length of time this part of the plan had taken, Hortensia's creativity had actually increased to its maximum. But we still weren't making that much bank. Mortimer had 0 creativity, and as such, we were only earning peanuts for each of his portraits. He was consuming far more than he was creating, especially since he kept dodging his daily carpool until he was fired from his job. That's right, we married a man with a career. I didn't know how to make him quit his job in line with the rules of the challenge, so I just made him hide inside until the car got bored and left every day. He was soon freed from his employment responsibilities and was able to concentrate on his crappy art. It soon dawned on me that it would take far too long for Mortimer's doodles to start pulling their weight. It had taken somewhere in the region of about a month in-game to get Hortensia's creativity high enough to make a living from it. And now we needed more. There were more mouths to feed. There was only one option. This household would have to grow. But what can one woman and one man do to increase their domestic population figures? Oh, yes, thank you kindly. We'll have 2. Do they come with matching easels? And so, with 2 boys appropriately named Gortimer and Dortimer, we began doing wholesome family activities like painting and creating art and adding acrylic polymer to paper. Okay, I had them all painting as much as possible, maximising their time at the canvas by implementing a strict shift pattern. This saw some of them painting into the wee hours, but to be fair, the parents could produce 2 masterpieces each day, and that gave us approximately 166 simoleons a pop, and the children could produce 1 doodle each at around 30. If all went according to plan, we could potentially raise, per day, a whopping 724 simoleous smackaroons. That was more than enough for the family to live on. The only problem was getting their social needs high enough to get them in the mood for more painting, so tickle breaks had to be implemented occasionally to raise morale. Still, in time we managed to afford a few nice luxuries, such as a TV from this century, and a bed that is so comfortable it probably massages your prostate for you. It felt like we had finally made it. At this point I was starting to wind down on the challenge. I took my eye off the labour camp for 2 seconds and Mortimer took an unscheduled call in the middle of the night. It was Child Protective Services, but not for the reason you might expect. Yes, I would like an extra 30 simoleons a day, thank you. Welcome to the household, child worker number 3, or as his adoptive parents would name him, Portimer. We turned the bedroom into a sort of annex and welcomed him with a traditional family easel. And this is where we'll leave the budding artistic empire of the Cultrington household. In a bid to bring down the capitalist structures all around us, we had resorted to uber-capitalism, sweatshops and child labour. As I glared at the masterful brushstrokes of a child savant, I saw a vision of the future. A future filled with dozens of Hort and Mort juniors, all toiling away to bring us the most mid pictures to ever grace a bargain bin in IKEA. Was this still in the spirit of the challenge? Yes, technically it was in the rules, but our soul had been lost along the way. Money makes the world go round, and it corrupts us with the promise of perpetual growth. Still, I bloody well did it, didn't I? Thank you, my friends and enemies, for watching until the end. I hope it made you feel something in the dark crevices of your heart. I've been playing with a mod that allows you to play the original game in HD resolutions, so if you would also like to do that, I'll leave a link in the description box below. As for getting a working copy of The Sims 1 for modern day PCs, I'll leave that to your own enterprising capabilities. We have some more Sims 1 content coming up on the channel soon, so stay tuned for that, plus a few other simulation games are in the pipeline, such as Sim Farm and Transport Tycoon. But until then, goodbye, and remember to remain alive.